What is up? What is up? What is up? We are alive again. Good to see you all. I'm glad that you're here. I'm going to make it as valuable as I humanly can. This time, I'm going to start it off with the story on how I basically got backstabbed by two business partners, very long-term business partners. This happened back in 2024. And then in that same year, I had a heart operation. Why I'm going to tell you this? Because there's a lot of lessons in this story. So the story goes like this. I was working with somebody, I'm not going to mention any names because all is good, we're all right now. But this happened many years ago. We had a business together, a coaching business, went very well. Did anywhere between 20, 30K cash a month. And at one point we were like, yo, tax man is watching, got to go to Dubai, right? And get this Dubai account. So, okay, went to Dubai. The moment I hit in Dubai, it was like, actually, I'm gonna put this bank account in my name because it's my brand. So that's that. There's that. And I was just there, like, what the hell? And he actually went through with it. So I basically paid 50% of because we did everything 50-50. I paid everything 50%, including the Dubai bank account, right? Where you set up the tax structure and you have like very low tax. So I paid like even 5K for that because an account costs like 10K. But I never touched it, never seen it, hardly had any benefit from it. So then after a couple of months, we stopped the business for some personal reasons. But yeah, that was a difficult one. And then I had another business partner who held money from me for like a year or something until I finally gotten it. And we're speaking of like a big sum, right? Like 5-figure sum that at one point I didn't even know if he had it, right? Because he was like very like, yeah. I was like, show if it's still in the bank account. Yeah, right? And then okay, well, if it's not showing them, might be something off. And that was also a really, really big one for me because, when you go ahead and get in business with each other, and this is very important, this is the first point that I want to touch on. I've got 5 points today, is if you want to go in business with somebody, you need to know who you're dealing with. If you don't know who you're going into business with, aka know your founder, right? There's a thing on Bitcoin, you have it like a KYC, right? Know your customer. I tell you, know your co-founder, because you need to know before the money, before the contracts, like, do you actually know who this person is when things go wrong? Because when things go right, it's all fine and dandy, right? But when things go wrong, when it gets hard, like what kind of person is it then? You can ask around. I wish I did this. Just ask around people that know this guy or these guys and, hey, how is it going? Like, how does he handle stress, Because there comes a time where things don't go well. This happened in that second idea where things weren't going too well, right? So, I mean, he could have maybe had reasons, to hold the money. But if I ask kindly, like, hey, can you show me if the money is there? And you don't show it, something is off, right? And he held it for a very long time. Eventually, we did get it, so everything is good, right? Like with these two people, everything is good. I'm just stating the facts as it is. But yeah, the first one is know your co-founder. Know who you're diving into bed with is a better one, because business is very intimate. It's almost like a marriage, a relationship. When you go into a marriage with somebody, it's just like you two are very intimate. You know everything about each other. In business, it's kind of the same, because you cannot have secrets. Because if you're gonna have secrets, you're gonna eventually find out. Like if you constantly sleep in, at one point the other person just kind of knows, because it's 11 a.m. and you haven't even replied, right? Or if you're a big procrastinator, the guy will know, right? Or if you have traumas that you haven't dealt with, right? Maybe you've got a bad anger, the guy will know, because business is gonna pull you on all sides. So that's very important as well. Just knowing your co-founder, knowing who you're diving into bed with. What I wish I did, because this was the first 2 times that I actually went into a partnership. Because from 2020 to 2023, 2024, I always did everything alone. I was like, I don't need no business partner. I'm good alone, right? But then an opportunity came where I get 50% of all the revenue from that coaching business. And I've got such good closing skills, appointment setting skills, marketing skills. I was like, let's do it, bro. Of course, right? Because he had a big name, he had like 180,000 subscribers on YouTube or something, right? Big channel. And the first month, boom, 30K cash, right? I was like, what the heck, I take home 15K, he takes home 15K. And then we just went on doing that for literally a year or more. And it was good times, But what I was trying to say, I wish what I did before was maybe just, instead of diving right into it and just following the money, just asking people around him. Because we met in a community, just maybe messaging some people in the community like, hey, what do you think about XYZ? And just kind of diving into it before you dive into the bed with them. So KYC. And then with the other business partner, I felt like I really knew him, right? Because we've already been in contact for a while. But still, if you get into business with each other, it's a different relationship than just knowing somebody. It's very intimate, as I say. It's almost like getting into a relationship with somebody, because to some extent you are financially. What I wish I did, I was just, maybe just not instantly said yes, but just kind of, I guess, also ask around, but also just ask him directly, like, hey, what do you expect? What do you think, right? Because a mistake that we made with the first business partner is that we didn't even sign a contract. We just had a verbal agreement, right? And if you know a little bit about a verbal agreement, in the court of law, that doesn't mean anything. Like, you cannot prove a verbal agreement. Instead, a document that is signed by two people, that you can obviously prove. Like, hey, we signed this on the 12th of January, 2024. Like, it clearly his sign is here. My sign is here. We agreed to this. He's breaking the law. So that's the second thing, actually. The second thing is very, very important. Contracts before collaboration. Handshakes don't mean nothing. Verbal agreements don't mean nothing. Even brotherhood means nothing when 20, 30, 50, 100K is on the line. Because when people get money involved, and this is not to be demeaning or anything, but when people get money involved, they change. Because money is very dear to persons, right? If you don't have money, I mean, like, that's not fun. And you're going to basically just fall in this world because you need food, you need rent, all those things, bills. So sometimes you are going to be more important than, the bills are going to be more important than you. Meaning, like, you're just going to have a hard time getting your money sometimes, right? I've noticed this real time, not only with the bank account, but also with the money. So a paper, as dull as it sounds, a contract, it's just going to massively protect you. I'd even go as far as saying, after this experience that I had, that I like to sign contracts for everything and anything. I don't care if you're a client that's paying me $500 a month. We're going to sign a contract because it protects not only you, but also me if something happens, right? If Stripe reaches out, it's like, hey, we think you are fraud. Just, no, we signed a contract. Here's the contract, here's the invoice, right? 5 years ago, I said, I don't need no contract. I don't need an invoice. We got a verbal agreement. No, you're gonna have to need a contract. Sign contract for everything, right? Literally everything. It's gonna only help you. I always say rather be safe than sorry. Sign your contracts. Because if you're not gonna sign those contracts later down the line, you're gonna be wishing that you just took 5 to 10 minutes to discuss a little bit, what are we setting on paper here? Okay, you're getting 50%, I'm getting 50%. Payments are 50% you, 50% me. Responsibilities are 50% me, 50% you. Like everything you can think of, just put it in there. Sign it. You're now protected. I love it. I mean, I live in Spain right now, but it's basically Europe. And there's a lot of laws that protect you. Like, I didn't know that. Like, I learned this through business, right? I learned through business and through this experiences, right? Because at one point we were even talking about involving lawyers, of course. Is that there's a lot of protection, actually. There's a lot of protection. And I just want to say thanks. Like, that's awesome, right? Like, I always like, oh, too many rules. There's so many rules. Oh, no, all these rules, they're ruining. Let's go to Dubai. There's no rules there. Let's go to South America. Less rules. But sometimes rules are really nice. Because if you get screwed over by somebody, those rules are going to protect you. You can just show, in this case, the court of law, like, hey, we signed the contract. I'm protected by the European law. Let's get this money or send police to his house. I mean, that's literally how it goes. So this is kind of what I love about, Europe. Like, I actually, if you know a little bit about me, like 5-6 years ago, I would have told you I'm going to live in Colombia or I'm going to live in Asia for the rest of my life. And I don't want nothing from Europe, nothing from United States, nothing from Netherlands. But I kind of, through experience, kind of learned to love it here. Because in the beginning, I was very, like, you can say a bit like, ignorant. Like, I just wanted to live maybe on a farm and, just far away from everybody. But now I kind of realize, like, if I'm going to build a family because I'm becoming a father at the end of the year, I kind of need that protection, right? And even just with, for example, business partners, it's just such a nice thing to have clear rules, right? Because I lived in Colombia for 18 months. You could go to the police, give them 100,000 pesos and say, let's go to this guy and take him off the streets. And they'll do it. You can bribe them, right? In the Netherlands, you cannot do that, right? At least not with 100,000 pesos, which comes down to like $20, 20 euros maybe. So what I'm trying to say is that there's really a lot of value in signing contracts and getting the law involved, getting these contracts going. Because if not, you're going to not be protected and you're going to have a very hard time to get your money back. Third thing is, and this is something I recently learned 2 weeks ago, that you don't want to be dependent on anybody. Don't be dependent on anybody outside of God. Because if you have one person that's controlling your money, your accounts, your business, I mean, you don't own anything. Like, imagine they get sick. Boom, money's gone, right? Imagine they start to take a bad route, whatever, right? They just don't live faithful anymore, or they don't have a moral compass anymore. They just decide to just fuck people over. There goes your money. There goes your income. It's all gone, right? So you're dependent on one person. I mean, I'm going to be honest. They had me by the balls at one point because I was getting paid by them because, money was landing in the Dubai account. The other money we had to split constantly, but if he held on to the money, like, I literally couldn't even provide for my family as much as I would. So I don't want that anymore. I'm going to be a father in December. I don't want nobody controlling my money. Even if they're a good person, I want to control my money. And the only way to control my money is by having my brand, my company, my own payment processors. So this is really, really important. Because even if, once again, they're a good person, if they have some sort of issue themselves, they need to pay bills, they need to pay rent, they need to provide for their family. And they're not as faithful anymore. They don't have this moral compass. You're not going to get paid. Because at the end, they were all humans. We're trying to protect our tribe. And as important as you might eventually just be less important than their own family, right? Obviously, if you truly believe in God and you have this moral compass, you wouldn't do that. You would even sacrifice your own little tribe to help the other because you have your word. Your word is so, so important. If I tell you, we'll do 50-50, I'll do it 50-50 on the dot. And this is something I'm quite proud of myself, is that over these last business partnerships that I've had, I know for a fact that I did everything on the dot, mathematically. Not taking a euro more or euro less. Always making sure that everything, because I know, somebody's watching. Everything was literally 50-50. Always. Non-negotiable. Even when no one was watching. Because always God's watching. Fourth, very, very important, learn this over time as I started to learn myself, is values. If your values mismatch with your partner, with your co-founder, you're going to have a very hard time. This goes even in line with the clients. If you have a value mismatch with your clients, you're just going to be suffering low-key in silence. So one of my biggest values is God. And if I'm going to be in business with somebody that doesn't believe in God, I know eventually there might be betrayal. This is a very hard line to just put it out there on the internet. But I truly believe that. Because once again, if you do not have God, nobody's watching you. You're just a person in this day and age, 2026, living in this world. I mean, at one point, no one is watching. You're in a bit of maybe distress. I mean, you're going to do crazy things. This is just how humans are. When I was atheist, I did a lot of crazy things because I thought nobody's watching. This world is not important. I don't care. Let me drink this. Let me use these drugs. Let me do all these things. I don't care. Nobody's watching. But once I changed myself from an atheist to now being somebody that actually believes in God, it's just worldly difference. Because I'm not gonna screw you over because I know somebody's watching. I go out and you'll see me giving money to the homeless. And I don't have to do that. Nobody will know. I do this in private. But I know through karma, whatever you want to call it, it's gonna come directly back to me. So you can literally just have great vibe with somebody. You may trust him, and you're completely aligned with the money, the idea, anything, right? But if they don't have that godly aspect in them, aka they are atheists, I'm still not 100% trusting them. At least I'm not going to do business with them. Clients, sure, it's no problem. I can still help you to make money. Of course, I prefer if you believe in God and have a spiritual compass, because I know you're going to treat your clients better because you have a spiritual compass. You're not going to screw people over because you know somebody's watching. It's that extra accountability that I personally love. So this is something that I wish I also invested a little bit more, like, watch how they treat others, watch what they do in silence, what kind of persons are they when nobody's watching, and do they believe in God? That's a huge one for me. Because if there's a value mismatch, if there's a religious mismatch, or I wouldn't call it religion, just like your faith, and I don't refer to Christianity, but if there's a mismatch there, eventually there might be some betrayal, just because of the fact that nobody's watching. And I'm not saying everybody that doesn't believe is a bad person, but it just improves the chance of them actually eventually screwing you over because there's just nobody watching. There's no accountability. God is the greatest accountability. So the last one is don't expose, don't curse, just build your solo comeback. That's the biggest revenge you can take. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm just looking to build myself up as the best man as I possibly can be. And once again, I'm not going to expose anybody. I'm not going to curse anybody. I forgive anybody and everybody that did anything to me, including myself. But the best response, honestly, after this is just becoming untouchable. Using this energy that I've got, these emotions, maybe anger, frustration, and just making it and using it for my business. Because you got to understand that energy, emotions that come up from situations like this, if you don't use it, it will use you, right? You might fall into sin, you might fall into whatever, drinking, smoking, using drugs. But if you use it to push harder in the gym, to push harder in your business, to push harder in life, because if you don't use this energy, you're going to basically abuse it. It's going to be abused. You get into bad things. So that's literally what I'm going to do. Just make the best comeback story ever. Because it was difficult. It was very difficult. Matter of fact, I made a post on this yesterday on Instagram, sharing a little bit about this. Let's see here. So this was me actually the same year where I was in Colombia. You can see that the plugs. In Europe, we don't use these plugs. In the United States, we do, but in Europe, we use different plugs. I was lying in a bed in Colombia, and I had a heart surgery. Not in Colombia, but I found out that I had a heart issue in Colombia. I was actually going a very hard push day, went to the gym, went to the sauna. It was already a very stressful day, and, with a lot of clients and sales calls and all those things. And I went to the sauna. My girl was already in the sauna. I was in there, not naked sauna, just like we had like a communal sauna, and just, like people are just in there with the swimming pants on. And lo and behold, after the sauna, I walk to the elevator, and I was like, oh, I feel a little bit wavy. But if you ever done sauna, you know that's quite normal. So we went up with the elevator. We were with some people. There's those people drinking somehow. Colombia, they're all kind of crazy. They just drink a lot. But it could also be weekend while they were drinking. But they had some bottles. They were like having fun. And I was like, it's a little bit overwhelming here. What the hell? All right. And then they walked out because they were living on the 12th, 12th. I only know the Spanish word now. I speak fluent Spanish because my girl doesn't speak English yet. So I constantly speak Spanish. So I was on a 12th piso, whatever that means in English. 12th level, I guess. And they were going out, and I was walking with them. And that was the moment where in my head the lights went out already. Like I had a heart infarct, as they call it. Heart infarct? I guess like my heart just stopped for a little bit. So I walked with them, heart stopped, fell on the ground. They were like, who, what the heck? I was like, who? Why? She thought that I was making a joke, because I make a lot of jokes. In real life, I make a lot of jokes, even more than on my social media. Although I should make more jokes, because my jokes are pretty good. But I was walking there and fell on the ground, and I just woke up like a couple of seconds later, like, who, what the hell? And everybody's like, you okay, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I guess, I don't know what happened. Like, I literally don't know. And my girl, now wife, she's like, she works for the ambulance, for the hospital, and she was like, yeah, we need to go to the hospital. I was like, hospital? I don't need no hospital. I'm good. No problem. Let me just sit, drink some water, and get back to work. I was like, no, go to the hospital. I was like, okay, I'll go to the hospital. So there I was in the hospital, and they gave me like these things to listen to heart, make some heart photos. And they're like, Dave, you got WPW, Wolf Parkinson White. I'm like, Wolf Parkinson White? Is that a new game that's running on the PS5? No, it's like a serious disease that you got. You were born with it. I was like, what the hell? So I was searching WPW, right? Oh, that's Wolf Parkinson White, a congenital heart condition when an extra electrical pathway between the hearts and upper lower chambers causes rapid heartbeat episodes. So it's basically an extra pathway to my heart. I was like, okay, so what do we do? Yeah, you can just get it operated. I was like, okay, how much? Yeah, it's only gonna be $10,000. I was like, oh, you know what I'd rather do? I'll just go back to Holland, where I have like an insurance, and then I pay like maybe a little bit of money, like 300. I think I pay like 300 euros, and just get it fixed. Once again, European laws, they can be nice. So that's what we did. Flew to Holland, got myself an operation. The heart was a really small operation. It was just like one day in and one day out. Like I didn't even sleep in the hospital. Although I actually did sleep in the hospital in Colombia, because I just wanted to make sure that I don't die in Colombia while my parents are 8,000 kilometers away, right on the other side of the world. So slept in the hospital for a little bit. Even that got insured by the insurance that I had for in Colombia. So I love me some insurance. Actually, I remember very vividly. I was still working with this first business partner, and I had like 2 pips in one day. Yeah, while I was working from the hospital, so I didn't have my video on, obviously, because it's kind of weird taking a sales call from the hospital. And yeah, like one guy paid like 4.5K PIF. The other one was like payment plan or something like. No, I don't know exactly. I think he split it up into two. So one PIF and then one other, but it was like 6K cash click, like 8K revenue, literally from a hospital bed. I was like, okay, this business idea is pretty awesome. So yeah, so this is basically me. Afterwards, kind of went with the shave, you know, the kind of for the comeback. I don't know why I took that, but this is me actually when right after I moved to the Balkans for a little bit. I lived in Bosnia. After basically what happened in the businesses. And I added this here because this was kind of, you know, I don't know, just kind of, when I lost it all, I still just here drinking my coffee with my now wife. I mean, just, you got to keep going, you know. You can also fall into victim mindset, oh, what happened to me, and da-da-da. No, didn't let it happen. Got on, back on the horse again. It was the hardest year of my life. But I think every year is going to be the hardest year of my life. This is actually my goal. And if you want to read this yourself, just go to Mr. Discipline Mindset. It's my Instagram. It's not in the bio here as well in the description. But that's what I want to do. I want to make every year the hardest year of my life because this is the only way to grow. Having that push. And I'm not saying get your heart up right every single year, but just find your hard things. You know, like building a business can be hard. Getting married is hard. Getting kids is hard. At least that's what I heard, right? Building a family is hard. Relocating is hard. Building a house is hard. Building a physique is hard. Sitting in an ice bath for 10 minutes is hard. Going to whatever, right? Just find your heart. You're going to have a very good life. So those were my 5 points. This is going to be the story. I'm glad you're a part of it. We're going to absolutely rebuild ourselves like nothing else. And if you ever need any value, you want basically some scripts, for example, on how to kill it with your appointment setting, with your high ticket closing, with your coaching business, just DM me the word scale on Instagram and I'll be happy to send it over to you. And for now, I just want to wish you guys all the best and thank you for watching as always. See you in the next one. I'm going to be frequently live here, so just make sure to drop a subscribe too. And for now, have an amazing day ahead. Peace out.